Hello, everybody on YouTube. My name is Frigid Hyperion, and welcome to our session 0 of Wilds of Wildemount. I am joined by my brother, Corrupted, known as Kyle. We've got Kale, Quinn,
Yo.
Rocky, Lily, and our lovely dungeon master for Wildemount, Miss Emily, known as Crunchy Zombies.
Hello. We'll go through a little bit more of character introductions here in just a moment. I do have a couple of words and things to say at you guys before officially beginning. First off, welcome to Wildemount. It's very important to know that this land is created by Matt Mercer and his team, and from the source book Explorer's Guide to Wildemount. It's chock full of adventure and intrigue and a whole bunch of other cool things. I will be your DM as we traverse this landscape of the continent and surrounding areas. But there's a couple of things to note before we begin. Me, as a DM, I take tons of inspiration from D&D YouTube and Reddit and blog posts and all of those good things. A couple of cool resources that I highly recommend you checking out would be Matt Colville, Jenny D, WebDM, Play Your Roles, Steph Sokowski, The DM's Lair, Inspo DM. These are all really great, particular YouTube channels and DMs and players. I highly recommend you checking out. Now, while we will be using the Wildemount sourcebook, I do fully anticipate on deviating from the guide. And as we adventure together, the listener might find discrepancies between what goes on in the source material and the happenings of the campaign. Don't come at me with a bunch of pitchforks if there are inconsistencies. It's just a game. And on a more intense note, we are all adults here. Some topics that might come up in roleplay are violence, gore, death, and sexual references. However, at my table, I do not want any discussions on rape, sexual assault, pedophilia, or incest. These are absolute lines, and it will immediately be shut down if it gets brought up. But I expect you all not to bring it up. Sexual activities, abuse, suicide, kidnapping, animal abuse, these are areas that, for me, are veils. I don't want them discussed in very much detail, but if they do come up in roleplay, they happen. Got it?
Got it.
Got it.
If you're watching us live on Twitch, be sure to check out our YouTube channel for our previous sessions. And if you're joining us on YouTube, be sure to sub to our Twitch channel to catch the live recording of the campaign. Sounds really stupid, and you've probably heard it a trillion times, but thank you so much for taking this journey with us. Now, is there anything else that anybody wants to say or share?
I think we're good.
I'm ready to
I'm
go.
excited.
Let's get rocking.
I'm so
then.
ready for this.
Cole?
Do it.
Alrighty. I'm gonna move you all. Welcome to Palma Flora. A cool breeze drifts across the Flora Isle, mingling the sweet scent of flowers with the salty tang of the Lucidian Ocean. Well-tanned locals play on the beach, and sunburned visitors sit on wicker chairs and sip cold drinks. A half dozen or so nearly naked shark hunters are prepping to compete in the annual Shark Hunters tournament. And they're basically just hanging around in the shallows of the South Shore, armed with harpoons and their wits. You guys all find yourselves in the local tavern, awaiting the official start of the tournament, around lunchtime. This dimly lit tavern reminds you of entering the galley of a ship, and it takes you all only a second to realize that this similarity is by design. The wooden walls display parts of different sailing vessels, a rudder, a plank featuring the name of a sunken ship, a tattered pennant, a helm's wheel. The bar has clearly been crafted from two repurposed lifeboats. Crossed oars hang on the wall behind the counter, serving as a mascot for the tavern. A tarnished bronze figurehead in the shape of a woman holding a harpoon has been mounted on a simple wooden pedestal. A dragonborn, scales the color of amber ale, bustles from table to table as business booms with the influx of visitors for the annual tournament. She weaves around obstacles as easily as a leaf taken by a stream, dodging shifting chairs and flailing arms. Rowdy patrons, those seeking a fight, or perhaps attention from her or her fellow barmaids, receive a sound slap of her tail against their ribcage. If they wail, she only smiles brighter, little fingers of fire peeking between her teeth. "Welcome to our humble establishment," she says as she saunters up to Edward and Windchime. "We've got the best grubs on this side of the channel. What can I do you in for?"
Um, is it dinner time or lunchtime?
Lunchtime.
Do you have a daily special?
Yeah, of course. We've got some fish stew, fresh made, delicious.
Is it local fish?
Absolutely. Wouldn't have it any other way. We are surrounded on all sides by ocean here.
That sounds so wonderful. I'll take a bowl.
Amazing.
Do
Anything
you have
else?
any?
Go ahead.
Do you have any bread rolls? I think I might have to go for the fish stew along with some bread rolls on the side.
Absolutely. How many bread rolls were you thinking?
Maybe like one or two here, and maybe like three. Maybe three. And keep an extra one for the road.
3 bread rolls and 2 soups. Yes?
Thank you, ma'am.
Anything else? Wonderful.
that would be
I'll get those going. Oh, yes.
Do you have a really big bread roll that we could make into a bowl and put the soup inside?
That is not a request that we get very often, but let me go back in the kitchen and see if we can't make something like that happen. Give me just a few. This is a great time to describe yourselves.
Um,
Okay.
I forgot what it looked like. I don't look in the mirror often. Windchime is a dark red tiefling with long black hair and a braid, and she has really large horns that curl back around. And she's quite excitable.
All right. Edward is a fire genasi. He's got pale reddish skin for a hue, jet black hair, almost like the shade of charcoal, and the main feature that's sort of attracting everything, or attracting, the main sort of look that sort of attracts everybody's attention. The first thing you look at him is his bright, smoldering orange eyes.
Just across the way is 2 people sitting at a table of their own. Moonzic and Anemo, go ahead and describe what you're doing at the moment.
So, for those who are looking over at this table, what they see is a man who appears to be in his early to mid-50s, at 5'9", with gray hair and blue eyes.
Okay, yeah, and on the other side of the table, they see a like a 20-year-old, really muscular blue genasi with white hair. Very different styles. He's not wearing a shirt. He's wearing a cape that is that's made. It kind of looks like it's made of fur. And
he could be unarmored.
And one could say that, in fact. And he's wearing a kind of really complicated. I still don't know how to explain this contraption that he's wearing around his waist, but it's It's as if like he's got like a lot of blankets around his waist. He is wearing pants.
It should be stated.
It should be stated that he is wearing pants.
The older gentleman that's sitting across from him is wearing high class like robes, that kind of thing of really really fine fur, not furs, really fine. It's been a day. Gave me a moment to think of the words.
Silks.
Silks, cloths, other stuff like that, like stuff that normally people of high class would be wearing.
You know, as compared. That looks like he lives in a forest. Yeah.
Two contrasts, or contrasts in styles, clearly.
Absolutely. And I was gonna say, I'm really surprised they didn't have a Denny's.
You'd be surprised that Palmaflora has many differences compared to the mainland.
Well, either way, I'm very excited for the competition.
As am I. I forget, did you say that you were participating, or were you just going to watch?
I was just going to watch, but if they somehow have spot open suddenly, I have a feeling it might pique my interest.
I can see you having a lot of fun in that kind of thing.
I would agree. Not something I've done before, but tussling with sharks, intriguing.
Well, it is not every day that you get such an opportunity.
Indeed.
Now, the tavern itself is filled with music. And you see a bard off in the corner playing an instrument and singing songs. Who is that bard? What do they look like?
Ah, yes. You look in the corner and you see this 10, he's, younger looking gentleman. A little more, I wouldn't say finely clothed, but, a little more dressed up than your usual casual. He's currently playing a lute in the corner, kind of humming to a tune and hoping to see if he can get passerbys to pay any attention to what he's playing. He is also drawing a blank on some stuff, but he's got glistening, like emerald green eyes. He's about 5'10", and has very light brown hair. It seems to be tied back to an extent. He doesn't. He looks fairly light, like a lighter frame, but he also looks very nimble. As everybody notices, while he is playing, he's not just looking down, though. He's kind of looking around. There's something on his mind, or he's currently looking for something in this tavern.
The tavern is filled with patrons, many of which sit at the bar. One in particular is a little bit more eye-catching than the others, if only for the fact that he seems a little out of place. Brom, would you please introduce yourself?
You see a well-muscled man, clearly past the prime of his youth, but no weaker for it. Drinking quietly at the bar. His back to you, you can see he wears simple clothes. Skin a little bit lighter than the locals. Raggedy boots, as if he's traveled a great long distance here on foot. As you watch, you can see him get up from the bar, tankard in hand, and this allows you to see his face. Full black beard, heavy set eyes that, if you were to look at them directly, look blue, but in all other cases, you can barely see their color from the shadows of his that cover his face. Drink sloshing in his mug as he gets up. He walks over to the bard and says, "Oi, bard, have you a song of rage and lost dreams? Something that could soothe my soul?"
Ah, yes. Let me think about it. Also, my name is Miles. I come from, I won't spare too many details, but, yes, let me think here. Well, as tradition is, we've had many wars in our past. I do have one that happens to come to name, but I can't seem to remember it. But I do remember how it goes. And you see Miles kind of go, and kind of loosen up a little bit and sturdy up his position as how he plays, and he starts playing a little bit of a darker tune, something that would help, somebody who's going through or who would be looking for that sort of a tone. And as he's doing this, you see his expression kind of change. Before he was a little more nonchalant. Now he looks to play and go along with the music, as if he's becoming one with it.
Head and roll me a performance check. See how good you did.
Let's see here. One moment.
That was just a straight.
So that was a D20. Go ahead and go into your character sheet.
Oh, just hit it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Hey, 22.
Much better. You see this young man looks a little bit. There's kind of this haunted look in his eye as he's singing this song. Contrary to what you would see of a man of his age, it seems before your eyes he instantly ages 10 years as he sings this solemn song of rage and loss of hope. Right at the end of the song, you notice it crescendos into one that has a little bit more of a hopeful sense. The character in the story that he is telling ends up finding solace and peace, all alone out in the woods, and away from the pressures of society in his old life. It's a great song, beautiful. It, for anyone who is paying much of attention, it fills your heart a little bit of knowing that somebody such as the man in the story could come from such a hard situation to find comfort in himself. It's a wonderful song. You see several patrons nodding their head, grooving into it, and there's one patron over in the far corner who's just like, He has to keep rubbing his eyes a little bit, as it resonates a little bit more with him.
You can see on Brom's face a single tear drip down from his left eye. He says, "Thank you." And he's going to toss Miles a copper, and he says, "A little bit of hope definitely was what I needed. My name is Brom. To return your introduction."
Pleasure's all mine, Brom.
Tell me, do you know of a good way to make money here?
Here, not. I mean, I'm a performer. I could make money potentially anywhere. So as far as the area goes, I'm not too familiar, my friend.
You can watch him. You watch as Brom nods his head. Thank you anyway. It was a long shot, I knew.
So long, my friend. Pleasure.
Pleasure to meet you as well. I hope our paths. He's gonna stop in the middle of his farewell, and he's gonna go. Actually, I have nowhere to go. Since you seem to travel, would you like to travel together for a while, just until I reach back to my hometown? Safer on the road with two.
I would like that. I think that would not be a terrible idea. It's been a little while since I've had others to travel with me, to say the least. I've gotten so used to being alone that a little bit of company sounds nice. And as he says that, you see him bend down and pick up the copper piece and flip it back at Brom. And we'll tell him, "This one's on the house, friend."
Brom nods. Thank you very much. And he's gonna head back to the bar, I guess, with Miles. Or just sit there as Miles plays, either or.
So, you see the Amber Dragonborn making her way out, again bustling through all of the patrons with a couple of bowls of soup and some rather large rolls. One particularly stands out above the rest, and three smaller ones all around. And she comes up to Windchime and Edward and sets down the food and says to Windchime, I got the biggest roll I could find back there. I hope this tickles your fancy."
Oh,
You
yes.
see, about the size of a small plate is the roll. You see on the top there's like little bit of butter kind of dripping off. It's already melted, like there's no pad on top. It's just you can see the glisten from the heat.
Thank you so much.
Most gracious thanks to you.
Alrighty, folks. Are you paying together or separate?
I got
Oh, I
this.
guess we can go separately.
No,
How much is it? 1 silver?
For the lot, we'll go 1 silver.
okie dokie.
Thank you very much. I slide over the silver piece.
Oh my god.
You
Dude,
see her,
Rocky, are you paying
see her
attention?
Smile.
Oh, sorry.
You
I'm
see her
being
smile as she scoops it up and puts it in her things. Thank you all. Let me know if there's anything else y'all need. And she bustles back before out of the corner of her eye she catches Keem Lim and an Air Genasi sitting across the table. Smiling big, she walks up and says, "Hello, Mr. Liam. What can I do for you? Happy to have you back in town."
Absolutely. I'm always happy to come here.
You do recognize this woman. She is the bartender for the Riptide Tavern and Inn, which you're currently at. You know her name as Zafria.
Zafria.
I take it you'll be looking for some rooms tonight?
Yes, indeed,
the
Zafria.
normal?
Yes. Actually, do you happen to have a room with a second cot or a second bed in it? I have
Second bed.
I have a friend traveling with me.
Of course. No problem. Anything for you. And she runs away real quick and grabs a set of keys from underneath the counter and says, "Best room in the house," with 2 beds, that is.
Thank you so much. I'm looking.
Not a problem. Anything I can do for Mr. Liam. You guys want anything to eat as well, or
What have you
drinks?
got? What have you got on special today?
Well, we've got a wonderful fresh fish stew. You know how this goes. Well, it's got bits of carrots and potatoes in it, but the main part of the dish is this wonderful bass. I think bass live in the ocean. This wonderful largemouth bass that is fresh caught just this morning.
That sounds delightful. My mouth is watering already.
2 bowls? Just 1.
Anemo, what would you like?
It sounds good.
Wonderful. Anything else I can get you to?
A glass of wine would be nice.
Wonderful.
I'll just do some water.
Coming right up. She goes off to retrieve your food and drink.
Man. It feels weird to be around you when you're looking so fashionable.
I kind of Cheem kind of shoots a like you need to follow along kind of glance, like, what are you talking about? This is how I always dress.
No, yes, of course. That's not. It's just in public. It's a little. It's hard to compete with. I hope you understand.
Nonsense. You look fantastic as you do now.
I flex my muscles. I thank you.
Go ahead. Do you
Roll a
you see
performance.
some you see some onlookers kind of like giving you the side eye like, ooh, damn. Ooh. And attending other tables, you see Zafria like smiling to herself.
You're gonna see Miles nudge Brom a little bit and go, I think somebody's trying to show you up, friend.
You're gonna see Brom look over, and he's gonna, and you're just gonna watch him like stare, like not in the not in like a impressed look, like a what the hell is that thing look.
Oh, Jesus.
Gross? That's kind of rude, not gonna lie. Feeling a lot of hostility.
Again, not aggressive, like almost like curiosity, like he's never seen a Genasi before.
Still rude.
Still rude, not.
Oh yeah.
It's okay, Animo's not paying attention.
He's gonna take another deep drink from his mug, and he's gonna look at the bartender, and he's already several mugs in, and he's going to another, if you wouldn't mind.
Of course. You see a gruff-looking man, kind of almost face echoing yours, with a little bit longer of a beard and a couple of scars on his face, as he slings you another drink.
You can see Brom down it, and he's gonna start talking a little loudly to Miles. I don't normally talk about my own personal stuff, but I just have to vent. I hope you understand. And this is clearly like hearable to everybody in the tavern.
Speak freely, my friend. I am all ears.
There's a lord here in town. Paid taxes to him my whole life. On a vacation he was here, so I walked here instead of a town not 30 clicks outside my own. You see,
Go ahead.
My farm was destroyed, and I went to him for help. For I paid him taxes all my life to keep my lands safe, and they were not kept safe that day. And do you know what he did? He spat on my shoes and he threw me out.
Yes.
Listening, I assume that Moonzic can overhear this as well. Could I make some kind of roll to determine if I recognize the Lord based off of his description?
Yeah, go ahead and roll a history check. Awesome. So, to you did hear some rumors of the Lord of Tuosa making his way to Palmaflora proper, not the Flora Isle, on vacation for several weeks.
Mm.
You did hear word that he was here, but you don't know his name.
Okay.
Miles will look at Brom and, yes. Typical lack of promises to be fed up by the rightful, so they say. This is why I've always found it easier to travel. I mean, of course, it doesn't help I've also always grown up around it.
My grandfather built that farm with the work of his own back. My father kept it, and I kept it, and I planned, and I taught my kids how to do the same. All gone in a single night of terror. And the
Including
Lord,
your family?
my
You
kids
see Miles.
survived.
Oh, sorry. You see Miles kind of pay a little more attention to you in depth, like you had struck a nerve.
My kids survived, thank God. The only thing on that farm that did. But they have no
Ready to
future.
relax.
Not really without the farm. Now they're hardy lads, I'm sure they'd survive without it, but... Well, you understand, I want to give them what gave me my life. Simple as it might have been. You can see him, shake his head. If only I could do something. I was so angry in that moment. I felt like I could throw off guards and take what was rightfully mine, but
Lucky
was
for you, I
silly
feel
thought.
your distraught has not come to a complete end. I feel there's some way you could do, or something you could do still.
I have no way of making the sum I would need. Not without something to start to rebuild my farm.
Miles ponders a second and goes, well, how much damage and goods have you lost in total? And what would potentially be the amount you need to restart your farm?
4 fields of crops need to be resealed, possibly redone entirely. The farmhouse must be rebuilt. I had a coop, which is Tinder's house, destroyed completely. Would have to be rebuilt from scratch. It's a shock it did not collapse down upon us. Hundreds of gold. More than I ever have seen would be required to get it back to what it was.
Perhaps we could do that together then, as you had stated before. Now I understand why you're in such a need for money. Makes a lot more sense now.
He seems almost embarrassed by your offer. And you can see him grapple with it for a second before he says, I will not accept charity. I would love to work with you, but you will take half of anything we make. I will not accept it for a second.
Nothing is a charity with me, my friend. I will happily split what we make. Besides, we would have both have earned it after all.
And you see him reach out his hand, well-muscled arm. For the first time, you see hope in his eyes. And with that, they seem to shine just a little more blue. If you take his handshake...
Miles will return the handshake and...
you can feel his hands are rough from the years of farm work. And his grip strong.
And as they're shaking, Miles will look at you. Rest assured, we will get you back what you have lost. This I can promise. I'm not sure how we will do it. Okay, well, Legally, we will do it, I should say. I don't think we should really do anything hasty, but
Of course. I would never
if there's a
consider.
will, there's a way, my friend.
And so, yeah, he releases the handshake, and he gestures. Another ale for my friend. Please.
The gruff man, without a word, goes and has to reach up to the bottles of ale that are currently kind of lining the ceiling back behind the bar. As he kind of reaches up and pulls one, looks at it, changes his mind, puts it back up, grabs another one. Clearly, anyone with a semi-keen eye could see that he's grabbing the cheapest ale that he can find. As he pulls it down and fills a mug for the bard.
It's good. If you haven't tried already.
I will certainly do so. Thank you, my friend, for the drink. Next time, it's on me.
As you
Cheers.
take a drink, go ahead.
No.
As you take a drink, Miles, you notice that it's fucking garbage. It's trash ale. If you ever like have a bag of trash that for some reason just starts leaking.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
that would probably taste better.
Oh.
God.
It burns.
That's
It
Miles will
burns
take
a little bit, but it's clearly alcohol.
Yes.
Whoever's in
Little-
this
I'll
bottle
scoop a
is
little up
trying
on
to
the
mimic
floor.
a stack of leaky garbage juice.
Yes.
I'll-
Gut rot, my
I'll-
favorite.
I'll try not.
I'm really glad.
You know-
I'm really glad
Yeah.
Anemo got water.
You'll see me kind of like trying to not spit the whole amount up, and it's a very, very hard swallow. And I go, pardon me. I was hoping for a local specialty. Oh, what is this? This is worse than anything I've had traveling on the roads.
It's Coors
The
Light.
LaCroix.
the bartender looks at you and just kind of glares and shrugs and goes back to wiping out a glass.
Oh, I guess I'm busy too then.
Like goddamn sass.
Rob's gonna
Uh,
continue drinking it like as if it's a perfectly good ale.
There are looking around, Miles. You do see people like drinking drinks that aren't quite so dusty and gross. Like there are some people who like are like actively like holding on and drinking these big coconuts, and in these coconuts, they're like opened on the top, and they have like a delicious looking like pink shaved ice, with a flower sticking out of one side and a little umbrella. They seem to be eating it with a little wooden spoon as they're carrying it around. It seems to be a really popular drink.
So
As
it was
he
his
looks at
choice to get no-name brand version of Bud Light.
The cheapest thing on the menu, Quinn.
Miles is seeing that there's probably a good 3/4 half left in his mug, and he's going to place it on the counter and kind of nonchalantly kind of knock it over on the counter. Whoops! Here's my mug happened to have spilled. I apologize, friend. And he'll get up and he'll go, "Excuse me, I have appeared to have spilled my drink. I don't need another one, though. Thank you."
The
I just
The
want my
gruff
money
man.
back.
the gruff man like stares, daggers. Make a charisma saving throw.
Oh,
First saving throw of the game. Let's go. Oh god.
Actually, that's okay. That's 10.
That's not good.
You feel just through his eyes that he is attempting to like push you back down to your seat, just like all with the power of just these heavy set eyes, this brow that kind of protrudes, like really extraordinarily long eyebrows, as he kind of like curl up as he like looks at you, with pulls the rag off of his shoulder, a different rag than the one he was using to wipe the inside of the glass, and just like actually takes the glass that he was holding, and he like scoops up the puddle back into the cup, sets it down, opens up the bottle, and pours it back into the bottle, stops it, and puts it back up onto the netting.
Oh, that's so gross.
Well, perhaps now it'll have a little more flavor to it.
Oh,
Oh,
oh snap!
don't think it was suffering from a lack of flavor, to be fair.
And goes back to doing whatever the fuck it was he was doing. Coming out from
Miles will smugly leave a copper on the counter for him, and go and look around and see if there's an empty table, and we'll say, my friend, I'm going to move over to this table if you don't mind. I've quite had enough with the antics here.
you, the guy is still like, you see him like looking at you, just like staring you away.
Brom's gonna shrug down the rest of the drink. And follow to the next table.
Coming from Moonzic and Anemo, you see Zafria come back out with a glass in one hand, a bottle of wine kind of tucked in her under her arm, and she's holding a tray with the other as she like brings your food. She sets down the glass of wine in front of Mr. Liam, and opens the bottle and pours and says, elderberry wine.
Absolutely.
About 15 years.
Absolutely delicious.
Glass of water appears in front of you. You each have your bowls.
That was some crazy magic.
Oh, she was holding it on the tray. She was holding it on the tray.
A glass of water appears in front of you. Do a Constitution saving throw.
And she leaves the bottle of wine on the table as she says, anything else I can do for you two?
At the moment, I do not believe so. How much is everything today?
Just the wine, 5 silver.
I will hand her a gold piece.
She winks at you, plucks that, smiles, and says, I'll see you later today.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your service, Zafria.
You see her tail kind of twitching behind her as she goes, and happily takes the coin. Yeah. Really, I'm wondering what Windchime and Edward are doing at the moment.
Well, I imagine my soup is running through my the bottom of my bowl.
Absolutely. This is not a thick bread. It, as you go in, you kind of tear out the core and eat the center of your bread, and you pour the soup into this makeshift bread bowl.
By the time you eat out the center of your bread, you're full.
After just probably a minute or two, and especially with the spoon that you keep kind of digging in there just a little bit too far, it's all soaking in. It's soaking in so much. If you were to try to pick up the bread bowl right now, your soup would just fall right off the bottom.
It would just splash.
Oh no! Edward, what's to do?
I mean, out of all the ideas you've had so far, I think this one might be your most stupid one yet. I'm gonna kind of slowly look up and just make that snarky remark as I then proceed to bury my face back into the map I have of Wildemount, along with some my notebooks relating to the oracle and the visions. Right, scrawled around on paper and notes. It's like a big circle, scrawled around an ocean within the vision, and then a small sort of X on top of Pomiflora with notes pointing to if this Pomiflora could be referring to this ocean within the vision, as I'm pondering over the bowl of stew. I'm kind of sitting there.
Nice. Can I wave down the waitress again?
Just a few moments. She makes eye contact with you and nods her head and puts out a finger. Just one moment. She helps a couple of the other patrons, particularly this one elderly man who needs help kind of getting into the establishment. She's kind of helping him get to his seat, and he's got this cane, and he's hitting all of these chair legs as he goes through. He's not blind, he's just knocking everybody's chair legs. And talking loudly. He's saying well, I've spent nearly all of my life on those waters, but something's changed. The tides, they're off. Their ebb and flow have gone stilted and unnatural. Some malice is looking in that soup, and you'd be wise not to wake it. As she says, "All right, mister. Take a seat here, and I'll get you a glass." She sets him down at the bar and gives a nod to the bartender, who does such. She makes her way over to you, Windchime. How's everything working out for you?
I need a bowl.
At this time, Miles and Brom will be walking up, and we'll be kind of looking down, and we'll be going, "Oh, hopefully they didn't give her the counter treatment either."
Oh, she's just a very messy eater. Don't mind my friend over here.
Oh my. Well, my apologies for interrupting your dinner then.
Oh, no. My apologies.
I'm not a messy eater. I use silverware.
I'm gonna look down at this giant pile of soup, sort of slowly welling on the surface of the table as it's leaking through the bread.
Brom's gonna.
There are breadcrumbs everywhere. By the way,
I
from when
reckon
she
you can
tore out.
scrape that off with a spoon, can you?
Brom's also gonna look at her incredulously and like, with those manners, you can afford to eat off silver.
Miles will look around and say, well, I hope we're not intruding, but are these seats taken? May we join you?
Of course, of course. Sit down right here next to us. Be fine.
Was
That'd be fine.
Thank you.
soup on the
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite make out what you said.
Be careful about the soup that's spilling on the table. The plate's
Oh,
not
trust me.
full.
Apparently the local favorite isn't none too crazy either. Apparently it tastes better from off of the counter.
The Dragonborn says the local favorite. Well, that's the Palma Flora, not that shit up there.
What was that shit up there?
Doesn't have a name. It's the cheapest we got though.
Ugh. Remind me next time to just drink the damn mop water.
Why would anyone want to pay
She-
money in order to emulate their own stomach?
She thumps Miles on the chest. Go ahead and make a dexterity saving throw.
Two saving throws in. All right.
Oh,
So
18.
you see her tail kind of flick up behind her to give you a tap just as everybody else does, but you kind of step back and stretch, avoiding it as if it was all completely natural, and sit down at the table, flashing her quite the smile.
Very quick,
You
my
see-
dear.
You see like little fingers of flame kind of sneak in between her teeth as she says, I'm gonna go get that bowl. Just a second. And she storms off.
Please be
Ooh.
quick.
Oof, apparently I've made some great friends here today so far.
I'm eating my soup as fast as I can.
It's not long before she returns with a dish. It's kind of a bowl, but it's really more of like a deep set plate. And that you're able to like take and kind of like scoop the remnants of your bread bowl and stew into off the edge of the table.
I was gonna say,
Um,
I'd like to imagine
she-
that the bread bowl is like breaking as she's scooping it off
Yes,
the table.
absolutely. She's
I'm
basically
getting like
just-
Oh dear, oh dear.
I'm gonna look and I'm gonna look and like just sitting in the corner looking with like mild disgust and intrigue as to like I can't look like this is gross and disgusting and the soup is spilling all over the place, but at the same time I can't look away. Type of look. This is.
I look at the other. I look at. Haven't grabbed his name, but I look at the gentleman here staring at this scene of the soup of being lost control of. I go, is this how she usually eats?
I'm gonna go with yes.
roll a deception check.
Oh. Okay. Well.
Oh my
Funny.
god!
That's absolutely how she eats.
I'm gonna look. I'm gonna look in horror. I understand being hungry, but
Chi-
I don't even care if that's true. That's just gold right there.
I learned this pretty early. Try not to think about it. The more you think about it, the more it hits your brain.
Chim Liam turns around with the commotion that's going on behind him, and he says, "Listen, good soup is good soup, albeit from anybody else the way they want to eat it."
Oh, and are you telling me bad alcohol is bad alcohol, so we should drink it the way that it should be drank?
In that case, I'm just saying that everybody has their own tastes.
Finally,
I
Anemo
have-
kind of looks around the shoulder. People eat the way that they eat. Why is this even a discussion?
See, you
I
eat.
have a question. Right? How rich does Moonzic look right now?
Well, you see a man in pretty good looking clothes. He's clearly plump, and well fed, and he's holding a glass of deep red wine with one hand.
You're gonna watch his eyes like narrow at him. His defense of somebody eating this way, and the look don't jive to my character.
Are you gonna roll an insight check?
I would love to roll an insight check.
Oh hell!
Cam, this is the results of this is completely on you. So, what what information he can gather with whatever his role is, you decide.
Okay.
Where the hell is my insight? There we go.
Oh. Did Brom say anything towards Cheam Liam at all? Or
He's not gonna say anything just yet, but he's looking at you like, wait a second. And depending on what he sees, what he can make out just by looking at you, he might say something.
I'll say that behind, like underneath the clothing and behind the face and the presentation that he's giving off, you can see something else that's kind of glittering in his eyes. Something that doesn't quite match the wealthy man that you see in front of you.
Tell me, what was your name again?
Cheam Liam.
How did you, how did you come to this? How did you come about your current attire? What do you do?
I am a businessman of sorts. I buy and I sell for profit, and I've just happened to deal in the right markets to yield me such a profit to where I can purchase these clothes.
Deception check with advantage because of your attire.
Me perception check?
No,
Deception.
Oh, deception. Advantage. Deception. Well then.
That's 2 16s. What are the odds?
So, again, Brom, something you don't know if he is purposefully like being vague, but it was odd that his response wasn't about. It was very much about the clothing. Versus just like what he did. If you normally ask somebody, hey, like how'd you come to be in the position you're in with what you got, they'll go in talking about, their business and what they do for a living, and the rest is explanatory. But the fact that he it's still it makes sense, but it just feels weird, right? That he
I'm gonna look over to to his friend,
Anemo.
Anemo.
But I.
Way to go. What markets does he trade in?
I've just met him recently, to be honest.
But you seem to be fast friends.
Yes, fast friends. I still don't know much about him. He was kind enough to let me come with him on this trip.
Ah, businessman and instant trust. Something's a little fishy here.
I
I don't
promise
know
you,
what
it's
to say. I didn't have many
young
places to stay on my own. I was quick to.
And generous. If only the local lord had been so generous with what he owed to his citizens.
Local lord,
Man, you're really on this fucking local lord.
I heard you mention him earlier. What was his name again?
Emily,
Um,
I was going to bring this up afterwards.
Milmere.
My
Lord
backstory on my character sheet is completely blank. I know we filled it in, so I've lost a lot of that.
That's okay. It's Lord Milmere.
Lord Milmere. Do you know him?
I've heard nobles' names, and I've heard some nobles that do rather shady and unforgivable things, but I've never heard two such things mentioned in the same breath, so unfortunately, while I have heard him, I have not heard his deeds.
Nor do you know him personally, clearly.
I can't say that I do, but he doesn't sound like a very charitable man.
No, not the sort you'd want around. That's clear.
Any businessman doesn't sound like a great charitable man, if you ask me.
You'd be surprised what the world holds.
Does he puff himself up at this, or does he just say that with that delivery?
He just says that with that delivery. He doesn't like to puff. I suppose, yeah, he doesn't puff up at all at that.
That is going to tick me off again. And be like,
Windchime chimes in with that. Aren't we all businessmen of sorts?
Aren't we all businessmen, really, if you think about it? We all do
business,
shit and get money for doing shit. You know? We all talk to people in general.
I don't trust this person at all.
Anybody have a response to wind chimes? Aren't we all businessmen?
With that, I am going to need to stop the recording here, and I'm going to need to excuse myself for 10 or 20 minutes or so.